Trump class, America's $23 billion warship gamble. Imagine a warship stretching roughly 250 meters, weighing more than 35,000 tons, and carrying hypersonic weapons, advanced laser systems, powerful sensors, and an enormous arsenal. But there is one number that may be even more shocking than its size: around $23 billion for a single ship. If the Trump-class program moves forward on the scale being discussed, the United States Navy could be preparing to build one of the most heavily armed surface combatants ever conceived. But it could also become one of the most expensive and controversial naval programs in American history. According to figures discussed in connection with the program, the Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, has estimated that a fleet of around 15 ships could cost as much as $275 billion, while the first ship, reportedly referred to as USS Defiant, could cost approximately $23 billion. That immediately raises a fundamental question: is the United States building the ultimate surface warship, or creating an extraordinarily expensive target? The Trump-class concept is based on an ambitious idea: create a massive surface combatant capable of carrying an enormous quantity of weapons and advanced military technology. Rather than functioning like a conventional destroyer, the ship would resemble a floating arsenal. With a reported displacement of more than 35,000 tons and a length of approximately 250 meters, it would be far larger than most modern surface combatants. The enormous internal space could potentially accommodate large numbers of missiles, advanced sensors, command systems, defensive weapons, and future technologies. One of the most important elements associated with the concept is the use of hypersonic weapons. Hypersonic weapons are designed to travel at extremely high speeds and can create serious challenges for enemy defensive systems. If deployed from a large surface combatant with substantial weapons capacity, they could give the ship the ability to conduct long-range strikes against high-value targets. But the concept does not stop there. The Trump class has also been associated with advanced directed energy weapons, including powerful laser systems. Lasers could potentially provide another layer of defense against certain threats, including drones and some airborne targets. Unlike conventional missiles, laser weapons rely on available electrical power rather than carrying a separate explosive interceptor for every engagement. However, laser technology also has significant limitations. Its effectiveness can depend on available power, cooling systems, atmospheric conditions, range, and the characteristics of the target. In other words, a futuristic weapon system does not automatically guarantee battlefield superiority. The same principle applies to the ship's sensors and electronic warfare capabilities. A modern warship is not simply a platform carrying weapons. It is also a massive network of radar systems, communications equipment, electronic warfare systems, data links, command and control infrastructure, and defensive technologies. The more advanced these systems become, the more complicated and expensive the ship becomes to design, build, maintain, and operate. This leads directly to the biggest strategic debate surrounding the Trump-class concept. What happens when too much combat power is concentrated on a single platform? Modern naval warfare is increasingly moving toward distributed operations. Instead of placing enormous quantities of combat power on one extremely expensive ship, navies are exploring combinations of surface ships, submarines, aircraft, drones, unmanned vessels, land-based missiles, and other distributed systems. This approach is often associated with concepts such as distributed lethality. The basic idea is simple: do not give the enemy one target whose destruction can create an enormous strategic loss. A distributed fleet can spread its combat power across many platforms operating in different locations. If one ship is damaged or destroyed, the rest of the force can continue operating. A massive warship presents a very different calculation. The larger and more expensive the ship becomes, the more valuable it becomes as a target. An adversary would know that a vessel costing tens of billions of dollars and carrying a huge concentration of weapons would represent an extremely high-value objective. In a major conflict, such a ship could potentially face threats from long-range anti-ship missiles, submarines, aircraft, drones, electronic warfare, cyber operations, and other systems. That raises a critical question. How many weapons can a ship carry if the enemy can prevent it from using them? Of course, this does not mean that large warships are automatically obsolete. A massive vessel offers major advantages. It can carry more fuel, more electrical power, larger sensors, more defensive systems, more weapons, and more command facilities. Its size also provides the physical space needed to integrate technologies that would be difficult to install on smaller platforms. A large ship could potentially serve as a command center, missile platform, sensor node, and major component of a wider naval network. But the strategic value of such a ship would depend heavily on how well it operates alongside the rest of the fleet. A powerful warship operating alone could be vulnerable. A powerful warship connected to submarines, aircraft, drones, satellites, smaller surface combatants, and long-range weapons could become something very different. It could function as one element of a much larger combat network. This is why the Trump-class debate cannot simply be reduced to a question of how many missiles the ship carries. The real issue is how the entire force operates together. Another major challenge is the American shipbuilding industry itself. Building a warship of this scale and complexity would require enormous industrial capacity. American shipyards are already under pressure from multiple major naval programs. The United States must simultaneously build and maintain aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines, frigates, unmanned systems, and other platforms. The industry also faces challenges involving production capacity, skilled labor, supply chains, infrastructure, and schedule delays. Adding an extremely large and complex surface combatant to this already demanding workload could create additional pressure. And that leads to another question. If the Navy spends tens of billions of dollars on one ship, what other capabilities could be built with the same money? Critics could argue that the funds required for one extremely expensive warship might instead be used to purchase a much larger number of smaller platforms. The same resources could potentially support additional submarines, surface ships, unmanned vessels, drones, long-range missiles, air defense systems, or other technologies. More platforms could provide greater geographic coverage and distribute the risk across the fleet. Supporters of the Trump-class concept, however, could make the opposite argument. A major naval power may require large, heavily armed platforms capable of carrying massive amounts of firepower. A ship with enormous weapons capacity could potentially launch large numbers of long-range weapons, while also providing command and control capabilities and layered defenses. In a high-intensity conflict, having a heavily armed platform capable of remaining at sea for extended periods could provide significant strategic value. The real question, therefore, is not whether the Trump class could be powerful. It is whether its cost, vulnerability, and industrial requirements are justified by the capabilities it provides. Modern warfare is changing rapidly. Drones are becoming cheaper and more numerous. Missiles are becoming faster and more capable. Sensors are becoming more sophisticated. Electronic warfare is becoming increasingly important, while artificial intelligence and unmanned systems are changing how military forces detect, track, and attack targets. The Trump class could redefine American naval power, but its enormous cost and potential vulnerability raise serious questions about the future of warfare at sea. Whether it becomes a revolutionary warship or an expensive strategic gamble remains to be seen. Only time will tell.